Okay, hi, welcome back. Okay, so yesterday we talked about removing things that weren't serving us, that weren't up for our new vibe, anybody who made you feel like crap or any of those things. So let me know, make sure you let me know how that went for you and how that feels. And then today we are going to talk about setting the new vibe of how you want to actually feel when you go on social media and how we're going to remove some of like the negativity that people generally have. So I see this quite a lot where people know that social media is important. They understand that, but they still have this like low key, I don't know, a negative connotation towards it. Like if people spend a lot of time on it, then they're a little bit less than, or if maybe they feel guilty about spending time on it, or they feel like they should only be on there for business and never for pleasure, or they feel like if they really succeed, then people are going to judge them or make fun of them, or people that they know in real life are going to see what they're posting and judge them. So a lot of this just comes down to mindset. You have to think of social media as what it is. It's a tool that you can use, right? Same as money is a tool that we use to get the things we need. Same as your car is a tool to get you to the places you need. None of those things change who you are. It's actually just a tool that we're using. And the important thing when you're talking about social media and we're really trying to reframe how you're thinking about it is a lot of people have a huge fear of visibility. So maybe it's not a conscious fear, maybe it's more unconscious and you're like, oh no, I'm fine. But then when you actually dig deeper, you're like, oh, okay, this is something I need to work on. So if you think you might have some fear of visibility, or even if you're like, I'm not sure, let's look at a couple things that might indicate that you have a fear of visibility, and then we're going to talk about how to work through that. So things that might show that you have a fear of visibility is if people see what you're posting, or if they bring it up when they see you in real life. So I've had this before, I post something, I feel confident about it because mostly just strangers on the internet have seen it. And then I see someone in real life and they're like, oh, I saw your TikTok. And I'm like, oh, so if you have that kind of reaction to somebody in your real life, out and about saying that to you, then you might have a fear of visibility. Or you might be posting things that are not really aligned. There's two parts to that. Another thing might be if you are really, really perfectionistic about what you are posting. That might actually just be a stalling tactic because you're afraid that people are going to see you and judge what you're going to say. The next thing that you can look for is if you are putting stuff out, but then you're like retracting it. So you post something and then maybe the next day or even the next week or the next year, you're like, oh, that was so cringe. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to get rid of it, right? So you're posting something and instead of looking back and being like, wow, look at all my growth. You're like, oh my God, I need to delete that right now. And I'm not saying that you don't need to ever delete things. Yeah, you're supposed to evolve. You're supposed to change. But I am no longer like thinking, oh my God, I need to delete the past. It's just, I think, proof of my evolution and my growth. So those are some signals. So if you take an honest look at your social media and your habits and look at that and think, okay, I think I really do have a fear of visibility, let's talk about how to get past that fear. A lot of what we're doing when we're posting on social media is we're trying to do sales, which is basically convincing people to work with us. And by, the normal reaction to that is thinking, okay, now I have to convince people that I'm good enough to take their money, right? That is a very big, it's kind of where our minds automatically go. So a lot of what I like to do to really kind of separate this is try to, in your mind, even if you're the face of your business, try to separate your business from your self-worth, which is much easier said than done, right? Especially if you're the face of the business, especially if you get comments, I get a lot of comments where people are like, oh, gross, ew, cringe, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whatever. It doesn't bother me anymore, but it used to really hurt my feelings when I would get negative comments. And what hurt my feelings even more was just crickets, like nobody saying anything. And I was like, nobody even cares. And so that can you can really internalize that and then have a lot of trouble actually saying what you want to say because then you're fearing that kind of response, and then it's better to just not have done it than to have done it and then gotten a response like that or feel like you have failed. So when we're talking about this fear of being visible, this, shakiness of actually saying what you want, this fear of being on camera. A lot of people, like, they're confident in what they're selling and they're confident in what they do, but then the actual speaking in front of a camera feels really uncomfortable for them. So speaking on camera is truly just a skill. I've gotten very good at it because I do it every single day, and now I'm very good at concisely saying what I want to say and not tripping over my words, staring into the camera, knowing that, it's going to turn out well if I just say what I need to say. But if you're new to this, practicing is very, very important. So I have in previous challenges talked about practicing. If you want to learn more about actually making video content in a more positive way, you can check out the course with the expert. That has full details on how to speak, how to get past the fear, a lot of practice material. There's like quite a bit of practice homework in there to get you more comfortable speaking. And then you might be you might be less critical of yourself if you think the videos look better because you feel more confident. So we often talk about like what comes first, the success or the believing in yourself, and you kind of have to do them hand in hand. If you have some success, then you'll feel like, yes, I can do this. But you also kind of have to feel like, yes, I can do this before you get the success. So they have to kind of go hand in hand. So when you are facing a fear of visibility, quite often it can come up in negative self-talk. And if you are noticing that about yourself, then we need to absolutely nip that in the bud. Especially this time of year, like people are all about this new year, new me thing. And I have never subscribed to that. I think that habits are the way that you change your life. And so you have to get in that habit of speaking to yourself kindly and being proud of yourself for what you're doing. So small wins compounding, right? We do this in the 60 or 90 post challenge where we're basically giving ourselves a win every single day. Even if it's not perfect, showing up and doing it, that win is important. It's important to track those things. So that can really help with your fear of visibility. The other thing, like we talked yesterday, we're removing people who you're afraid of what they'll think, but mentally removing them too, right? So even if you remove them from your list, or maybe you weren't quite brave enough to remove them, what does it matter what they think? So I think even writing some journaling, I love to journal. It really helps me a lot, like think through my feelings, my actions, all of these things. So writing out like what would be the worst that could happen? Okay, somebody who I don't really respect sees what I do and then they say something mean about it. Okay, so if they're not someone that I actually want to emulate or somebody I want to learn from, then what does their opinion matter to me? Again, this is easier said than done, but it's things to work through, right? If, like I've said also, like never take advice from someone who you wouldn't want a life like they have. And don't take their criticism either, right? If you wouldn't take their advice, don't take their criticism. And more often than not, the criticism is imagined instead of real. So you are not posting because you imagine somebody might criticize you and they haven't even done it yet. They haven't even thought about it. They're not thinking about you as much as you're thinking about you. Unfortunately, that is the reality, is we are all self-centered, which is normal. And we're all thinking about our own shit more than other people are. People are seeing, like, you have to assume they're seeing about a third of the things you post. So that for me helps take the pressure off, because I'm like, okay, like listen, nobody's seeing every single thing. And if somebody is and they're judging me, then they're wasting a lot of their beautiful life judging me. Then cool, I don't care to have their opinion, because that's not how I want to live. I want to do my best, put it out there, and then move the fuck on from it. So this fear of visibility is a real thing. If you have it, it's okay. It's literally a skill that you can work through. It's not a character flaw. It's not a something that you're stuck with. It's not a diagnosis. It's literally just something you need to practice. So I want you to work on maybe some of that journaling. I want you to work on making sure that everyone on your list is someone you actually want to see. And then if you're still feeling worried about it, come into the group and chat it out. Just chat it out. Be like, okay, listen, this is what I've been feeling. Can I get some support? And then we can all talk back to you about how it's actually amazing what you're doing, because it actually is. If you are brave enough to run a business and promote it online, especially using your own face, then that is incredibly brave and you should be very, very, very proud. So we're looking for the small wins. We are looking to stack these habits and practice every single day. Even if you don't post every day, if you own a business, I want you to be recording every day. Every day, I want you to be set up with your camera like I am now and speaking to a camera about what you do. It's incredibly important, right? If you had any other kind of practice and you needed to, be a professional, right? Like me learning to take photos. If I never practiced taking photos, then I couldn't call myself a photographer. So you need to practice doing content. It's important. It's part of your job. Okay? So that is the first key on visibility. And tomorrow we're going to talk more about how to, once we remove that fear of visibility, once we have removed the people we don't want there, then how are we going to build a new prototype of how we want to be on social media and how we want to feel? Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.